Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and it's been a while. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a lineup build for the LCK slate for this overnight session, and part of it is so that I can, start testing some of the changes that may have been made in SaberSim's contest sims. I did reach out to see if they've been making any improvements, and didn't really respond. So I'm going to test it out a little bit. Again, one thing that's very unique about League of Legends is, it's very, very difficult to get different, especially when you have these two game slates. So to balance out the benefit of getting different with the chances that could actually come in is particularly difficult in League of Legends. And I always wonder how SaberSim kind of deals with that. I mean, you can certainly find ways to get unique, like you can play the team and the captain, but that's never going to win. You could play wild, like three stacks or something like that, and that's never going to win either. But one thing that SaberSim never really puts out as far as their lineups when you build in any format with League of Legends are the game stacks. And I'm wondering if maybe this season they're going to start embracing them a little more. I still think that net they're probably net losers. And I have seen, people take down, the whole slate pretty much with game stacks from time to time, but it doesn't really happen all that often. And I wonder if they're going to continue the the trend of recommending a lot of kind of bizarre looking 4-2s after running the contest sims, or is it just going to go back to recommending regular 4-3s, which was what they were doing 2 years ago? And 2 years ago was really hard to get unique because whatever you did, you'd be getting the chalky 4-3s. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening. And um, again, the thing that I find interesting is to compare what lineups you get before using the Sims and what lineups you get after. So the first thing I did was I did upload my own projections here first, just to change them a little bit from from Saber Sims. Um, and we're going to build 2,000 lineups. It's going to give us, probably most of the, not all the viable 4-3s, and probably a decent amount of 4-2s that are going to be part of that 2,000 lineup pool. And then we're going to see which is considered the best alternatives, both without regard to contest sims and then with regard to contest sims. So the first thing that I did, which I do for all sports, I do upload my dummy lineups to my contest fields. Excuse me, from DraftKings to the contests tab here, so that it could populate this information as far as what, you know uh, how many entries, what the fee is, how many people get paid, so it could run its sims efficiently. Now, Triumphant Warrior hasn't really populated yet, but we could use Saber Sim ownership for this as well. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's just build the lineups first. And it shouldn't take too long. But the problem is that, there's so few combinations that it sometimes struggles to find that last, batch of 1,000 or batch of 500. Now, again, what's very, I don't want to say standard, but this happens quite a bit, is you have two enormous favorites. You have Genji, which is minus 25 to 1 favorite, and Hanwha, which is 12 to 1 favorite. So technically, you probably shouldn't be playing the underdogs. They just don't win often enough. The only way you could really justify playing them is if they were going to be really low owned, like 5% owned. And I don't even know that in a two-game slate, two-match slate, anybody can be that low owned. So it's usually a situation where you're probably not supposed to play, because the most likely results are going to be the two big favorites and everybody's going to play them. But one thing that DraftKings used to do, they don't do quite as good of a job with anymore, is they just make it hard to play the chalk. I mean, they price them so that you can't get to them. So the first thing I'd like to do is see what I would get to without doing anything. So The top 36 lineups right now, as you might imagine, are all Gen Gs and Hanwha Life. And the way this is being ranked is by this, this small slate default system where if you look through this, it does presumably prioritize the 99th percentile outcome, and it does sort of ding for ownership, but just really not enough. That's why you end up getting really, really chalky lineups when you use this metric here. And as you see, pretty much all stack exposure. Well, let's look at team stacks first. 100% Gen G and 100% Hanwha Life. Now, interestingly, you do have only 30 of the 36 being 4-3s, but that's, this is, I believe, like serious dupe city if you kind of play this. So what I want to do is kind of test to see what these lineups look like when we run the sims, which means now we're going to take what SaberSim believes the field's going to play, which is stuff like this, and then compare our lineups to it and see what lineups rate to get the best ROI against that field. And boy, oh boy, it looks like they've really done some business here with these sims because look at the types of lineups that is being recommended in this vein. Like you're seeing, we'll get to the stacks in a minute, but just as far as stack exposures, even, you're getting about 90% of these lines. So 33 of them are going to be 4-2s, and then two of them are actually 3-3s, which I don't think I've ever played. Um, and then one regular 4-3. And if we look at the actual team stacks, like who are playing, it's still actually 100% Gen G, but you're just getting a lot of more non-traditional stacks. Um, so let's just take a look. So 4-man stacks is going to be mostly almost all Gen Gs. 3-man stacks is going to be, a whole bunch of these and a whole bunch of these 2-man. So a lot of these Hanwha's going to be like a 2-man stack. And then I guess you're going to put kind of the underdog in the team position. And, I wish I could get to the meat of, how they came up with this. I have a lot more confidence in kind of firing these, which you know, looks to be very, very fishy. But again, these are the conversations I have with people about using the Sims. Like you're supposed to use these things to kind of help learn what lineups are supposed to look like. We're not supposed to use them to confirm your bias on what you think they're supposed to look like. So technically, I mean, if you believe in these Sims, you're supposed to play these 4-2s, even though instinctively they look like really awful. Um, let's just for the hell of it, I just want to see what the 4-3s look like. Like what 4-3s do we have? Not that it matters, but like what's the 1-4-3 stack we'd get? And it's actually the one without Hamwa. We're getting some Nottingham Forest, some Nonshin. So I think just for funsies, maybe I will do this today just to kind of see. But the other thing you can do if you want is to make maybe min uniques 2 or something like that. Yeah, so min uniques 2, when we did this, it didn't really affect the median destination ROI all that much. So let's see if we can get away with doing it again. What does min uniques 3 do to us? Wait, what was it before? It was 331, and then when you went to min uniques 3, it went all the way down to 109. That's not going to be good enough. So min uniques 2, and then these 4-2s, and then you're probably just not supposed to look. um, but basically, I think the idea is that you're going to be rooting for Gen G to get a big sweep, and then that Hanwha Life series to be kind of a shit show. Maybe have non take like one game or something like that. Um, I or maybe even win. So this is like let's look at some of these. This one is just Genji with Hamlet, but like with Nottingham. And what's interesting about it is that it's the only way you can I guess, get the rest of these guys in this particular order is to play Nottingham in the in the team. Okay. So if all these guys go off, in this particular order, you're not going to be able to get to this any other way in this. So that's why I think it recommends this. Um, so let's see in this one here. This one's got the hens and the support. These don't seem instinctively like they should work. Okay. But again, the sim supposedly factors in what everybody else is playing and how unique you're going to get by playing these types of lineups. So let's fire these off. So let's put these in direct fill. Well, let's put these in the uh in the shock blast. Boom. And then for the Triumphant Warrior, let's just go back to the to Saber score. It takes maybe we should take the best Saber score projected lineup. Um, maybe something like this to go into the Triumphant Warrior. So let's save this to Triumphant Warrior. Hopefully we don't get duped too much. I don't think we will. Because again, this is one of the reasons why I use my own projections. I just get a little different than everybody else that's using Saber Sims, and I'm just not completely convinced that mine are any worse. So here we go. So we're going to save these. Now, the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look to see what the spreadsheet looks like of the whole pool. So we have 1,295 lineups in the pool here. Wow, it's so funny. I asked for 2,000, only gave me 1,295. Right, that's fine. So I just want to see if they have the same types of fields that they do for Showdown NFL. Like Geo mean, yes. But what else? So this one's interesting. So this is the sim dupes. So one of the things that you can do if you wanted to, see right now it's being rated how? Well, let's rate these by ROI. Shot blast ROI. Yeah, so at least what it's doing, this is pretty sharp, I think, is it's taking out these lineups that are showing up duplicated in the Sims. I mean, it's got a couple, but not many. Like, look, when you sort by Sim dupes, it's got all these guys that are just multi dupes. But when they rank them by ROI, they're not showing up, which to me indicates that they are factoring in how likely lineups rate to be duped in your ROI calculation, which is good. I mean, it's good that it does that. So yeah, let's take a look at some other stuff. So geomean, it's not really quite that relevant here, but if you wanted to, you could, if you wanted to handpick some of these that are lower geomeans than others, you'll get lower ownership out of here, but the ownership projections are pretty weak in general. So you want to get too much, be too big of a stickler for geomean filtering. I guess that's pretty much all I have. If I'm up, probably won't be, but if I'm up, maybe we'll sweat the last match from a DFS perspective. But if not, I just kind of want to talk through how to, my lineup build and explore the different ways that the Sims are reacting this year so far.